I just came out of a 2 hour meeting. Can you imagine it? 2 hours with one particular person blabbering on about his problems and all that. It was kind of boring. So you will see in our industry, which is the IT industry, this happens every day where people will set up calls for 1 hour, 2 hours, 1.5 hours, and keep on speaking about things which may not be relevant. So the question is that in this world where our attention span, because of the world in which we live, where there are so much options, right? If you are, like, for example, watching a YouTube video, you if the YouTuber doesn't catch your attention within the first few seconds or minutes, you tend to move away. So, in this kind of a world where we expect our pizza to be delivered within the next 30 minutes, do you think that people have the patience to listen to you for 2 hours in a call? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And some people need to realize this, that either you speak to the point and crisply, or just stop setting up such calls where you only speak for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, which goes nowhere. So in fact, I know of people who actually go to sleep, or even do other kinds of work, just allowing the call to go on in some other device, and they keep on doing their own stuff somewhere else. If post covid, it has become more evident where people are working from home and they do not have to go to office, though some companies are now mandating that people have to come to office for a few days in a week, either 1, 2, or 3 days, just to meet and greet their teams, their managers, their peers, and all that. But still, most of the people in the IT industry at least work 1 or 2 days from home. So in that case, if you are setting up 1.5 hours, 2 hours call, imagine what that person must be doing in that call. So and just as a leader, as a person who is going to chair the call, who is setting up the call, you need to realize this, that I'm boring people and I'm taking away time from them where they could be productive doing something else, rather than sitting on a call and trying to listen to all gibberish. So, and I am of the opinion that if you have a problem you want to discuss with your team, it should not take more than 15 minutes to half an hour, right? If you come prepared. If you don't know what is the problem and what you are going to talk in the call and what are the possible solutions, you will only blabber for 2 hours. So my thought is that whenever you go into the meeting, keep it very precise, keep it very to the point, and prepare yourself well, and also give heads up to the people that you are inviting to the call as to what this call is about, what is the problem, and what is the solution, and what are the solutions that you are proposing in that call. Otherwise, if you go into the call and describe the problem for the first half an hour, and then describe the solutions for the next 1 hour, or the possible solutions options that you might have thought about for the next 1.5 hours, and then you start asking people as to what they think, it's basically putting people on the spot without giving them enough time to think, study, research on a particular problem, and come out with concrete thoughts about the problem, about how to resolve that, right? So meetings in our industry needs to be fixed, that's absolutely for sure. I know of people who spend the entire day in calls, and trust me, I'm not going to believe it if you tell me that his 8 or 9 hours, whatever his working time is, he is being very productive just attending calls, right? So that's not possible. Just think humanly. If you are only in meetings for every day, 5 days a week, 365 days a year, or excluding vacations, and attending calls for 2 hours, 3 hours at a stretch, your mind is going to switch off, that's for sure. So we need to think about this, and we need to be more efficient in setting up our calls, and uh, talk to people about what we are expecting in the call and all that kind of things. I have seen calls where 150 people are invited and one particular person is being grilled in that call, which may not be relevant to the other 149 people in the call. So we as leaders need to think about it. If we need to talk to someone one to one, we need not invite the other. We we need not invite the other 150 people, right? Because it's boring for them. It's their minds will switch off and they will not uh, be productive. And imagine the amount of man hours that is getting lost, right? 150 man hours, or one if it's a 2 hour call, then it's 300 man hours we are wasting, because you are just talking to one particular person in that call, and the rest 149 people are just dozing off somewhere in their comfortable seats, either in office or at home. So think about this. I mean, these long calls, are they necessary? If you want to do a review of something, please do a review one to one, and that will be more productive. You can give feedback, you can listen to the problems, you can think about other things that might impact the problem and all that in a more concentrated and productive way, rather than having 150 people listen to your problem which is not relevant and losing man hours. So we need to be very effective at the end of the day, if we are to achieve something, right? And setting up 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours call is not going to help in any way. Rather, I would give that time to people to be productive in some other area. It may be something that they like, they want to do during those that time that they are wasting in the call. So and you may be surprised to see what results come back if you let them not attend those 1.5 hours, 2 hours call, right? So think about it. I mean, and let me know what you think in the comments about these long calls. It's not very productive, if you ask me. And there are people who set up every week team meetings and team calls, and again keep on talking about specific issues and specific things about particular individuals, particular projects, particular problems and all that, which may not be relevant to everybody in the call. Again, the same problem arises. And what is there to talk every week, right? We are here to work, not to talk, right? So we need to be diligent about our work and not only in calls. So spending 8 hours in calls every day, which is like uh, actu- uh, which is like wasting your entire day talking to people about issues and things which may not be relevant. So think about it. Rather than spending 8 hours in a call, think of something where you can be productive, right? Decline calls if it's not necessary. It's not that if you don't attend a call, your company is going to go bust, right? So decline calls which you think are not necessary, and attend those calls which you think may be relevant, where you can learn and grow and share your thoughts openly and all those kinds of things. But attending calls which are not relevant is only going to hamper you in the long run, because it's not productive. And you will, at the end of the year, when the appraisal cycle, you cannot go and say that I attended 8 hours of call for the past 365 days minus vacation days. So that's not going to go down very well with your bosses, right? So think think what you can do, rather than attending long calls. And to the leaders who set up long calls, please think about setting up those long calls. I mean, people are not attentive in those calls. People do not care. So think about that. And if you have to talk to someone, then do it on a one-to-one basis, where it can be much more productive and the person may be more attentive, maybe more open to you, right, rather than opening up in front of 10, 20, or 150 people. So and another thing is that I firmly believe that if you have to praise someone, it has to be in a forum. If you have to praise someone, do it in front of those 150 people. But if you have to scold someone, if you have to give feedback which is not so positive about someone, do it in a one-to-one basis rather than in a call that you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And how is it going to be relevant for the other 150 folks in the call? Rather, it's going to be demoralizing for the person who is getting the feedback, not only him, but for the others who might care to listen for some time to your scoldings or feedback, because he might think that, okay, next might be my turn if I do not do these things, which is putting additional pressure on that person, on the other person whom you are not providing the feedback. Because it is we as humans, we tend to like relate our experiences with something which see, feel, and hear, right? So if you experience that your boss is giving some negative feedback to him or her over a forum of 150 people, you will be scared. uh, Trust me, you will be scared, because you know, uh, you never know when your turn might actually come up. So you will always be thinking that you will be afraid, you will be frightened that tomorrow's call may be my turn. Because if you have to find faults within people, you can find n number of faults uh, uh, from the work of people or from within a person. So rather than pointing out the faults, I believe that if we can work in a collaborative way, handhold, and if after that also if it doesn't work out, then that person is not made for your team. You need to uh, be open enough to let that person go and help him to find his next opportunity within the company or maybe outside the company, wherever it is. But as a leader, I don't think it's good to have or give someone feedback in front of 150 people. So those calls are never productive, but rather it creates a atmosphere of fear within the team, right? So just before I end this video, just to summarize, uh, think about the calls which are more than half an hour long. It it uh, if if you see it's more than half an hour long, it may not be productive. Just think about that. Think about calls which you can decline, which is eating away your time, where you can be productive, right? If as leaders, if you want to pass feedback to someone, do it in a one-to-one way, not in front of 150 people. uh, in fact, I was reading somewhere that Jeff Bezos from Amazon, he had uh, devised some ways to have productive meetings, where people would come into the meeting and they would look at the agenda and sit quietly for 10-15 minutes just to think about that agenda and what are their thoughts about that agenda. And then the meeting uh, would begin. So that's maybe a productive way to do your meetings, where you give the people opportunity to think, rather than putting them on the spot and asking questions which may not be relevant, and they have already switched off their minds, and they are trying to say something which may not be relevant, which may not be very productive. So that's not the way meetings should be done. Meetings are important because that's the way you can have a group of people exchange their thoughts all together, rather than one to one. One to one is always feedback, and maybe project reviews or something like that on a one to one basis. Again, based on the review, you can provide feedbacks, but meetings are important, where group of people who are relevant for that meeting are attending, and they are given enough time, opportunity to think about the agenda of the meeting or the problem we are discussing in the meeting, and give their thoughts. You never know, something relevant might come back, something might come up which you may not have thought about. But for that to happen, you need to give enough time and space to people to attend those meetings so that they can gather their thoughts, not set up 2 hour call every week and try to grill them every week what people can think. Rather you give them maybe once in a while, maybe once in a month. And it's very important to also keep your doors open as leaders, so that people can come in and talk to you at any point of time, rather than looking at the watch or the calendar and find out a slot where they can basically get hold of you. So it can be over a cup of coffee also, they can approach you. It can be a walk down the corridor where they walk beside you and talk to you about their problems or anything on which they need their help and all that. But having a team meeting every week, it's I feel it's very unproductive, unless you have some specific agenda to discuss. Most of the time you will see in those weekly team meetings, general topics get discussed, which is eating away the time not only of you but also the people who are attending those calls. So think about it, and let me know what do you think in the comments below.